My name is Leroy Larry and welcome. Natural physics will explain in down-to-earth scenarios how the principles of physics could have come about from observing nature. Each episode begins with a scenario followed by an example to illustrate the application of these principles in futuristic research at the frontiers of science, such as my astrophysics research, and then concludes with an exploration of how these same principles could have very well been used by ancient cultures and civilizations. Mathematics is naturally encountered and incorporated as the exciting and fun tool of science that it is. Science is the window into our amazing world of nature, and mathematics is the tool to open that window. Natural physics encompasses current, futuristic, and ancient physics, and ties them together by the principles of physics that are common threads running throughout each.
Greetings. I'm Leroy Larry, and welcome to Natural Physics, live from Costa Rica. In this episode, we continue. I'm adjusting my cell phone. Sorry about that. I just want to get totally in the picture. Okay, there we go. All right. All right. In this episode, we continue with exploring the possibility of reconstructing the ancient Boudica lunar eclipse calendar. Joining me is my guest and an original member of the Fat Pack, Mariela Bonilla. Hey, Mariela.
Hello, Leroy. Greetings, everyone. How are you?
doing?
How have you been?
Good. How you doing?
I'm great, thanks. So happy to be here again with you.
Thank you. So happy to have you, without a doubt. Now, Mariela, all week long, I've been thinking about your legends from the Boudica. The first one about the custom of keeping their heritage. And you know what? I remember my first trip down to Jaco. I was in one of those stores, and the lady told me that the Boudica was the only tribe, the only group of indigenous peoples that were not conquered by the Spanish conquistadors.
Right.
Is that true?
That's right.
Well,
That's right. And one of the traditions that I told you before last week, it's the Diablitos, the dance of Diablitos, of the devils. And this is about the Borucas fighting to the Spanish. So that's like how they can show the whole world that they could keep their traditions. They were not conquered by the Spanish.
and of all the indigenous peoples groups, are they the only one that was not conquered?
Well, I don't know exactly if all of them, but they are the ones who try to keep them until nowadays. For
Wow.
example, we have been talking about the spheres, that they were supposed to be a calendar, and that hasn't been scientific or proved. It hasn't been proved because some spheres were stolen or removed from the original place. So nobody knows where or how to predict the eclipse or some astrological event. But and that's something that the Borucas feel sad of, because they wish they could keep that tradition or that ability still.
Well, check this out. Okay. When
Mhm.
you said how the ritual, the dance of the devils, where they hit the bull, which represents
Uh-huh.
Spain, and that was their
Uh-huh.
way of keeping alive in their memory the fact that they were unconquered by the bull, by Spain. Okay, get this.
Right.
African American slaves, right? Brought from Africa, lives stolen, just snatched, brought to an alien. I mean, that's like going to another planet. When you think, I mean, you're in Africa, and then all of a sudden you're in this place that is like an alien planet. So, okay, get this. African American slaves, they had songs, gospel songs that held in the lyrics code phrases for saying, don't give up. There's a way to the north, to reach the north, to freedom. And they sang those songs amongst themselves. And it was their way to be low-key, nondescript, and communicate to each other through these songs that they were not going to be conquered, that they were going to make it up north, right? So your deal about the Badukas doing that, right on, right? Hold on to your heritage. Don't let nobody take it from you. So, another thing is that you talked about the holes that were made, the myth, the elves, right? The river where the two sisters unfortunately met their end. And the myth is that the elves make those holes. Okay, one was an elephant, one was a bathtub. And you know what? The deal about the elephant, and you said, how could they know about an elephant, right? These carved structures are in Costa Rica, and here you have one that resembles a creature in Africa. Very interesting, very interesting. Okay, so now, in relation to that story, Mariella, I told this story in a previous episode, and I'm only going to retell it again because it has it has implications involved with shape. Like you said, it doesn't look like nature shaped those figures. It looks like they were intentionally done. So some episodes back, I told a story, and I'd like to repeat it because we could have listeners and viewers that missed that story. Okay, a while back, I came across an obscure article. I'll have to find out where it was, but it was on the internet. Hey, the internet is the world's largest library, right? I mean, you can almost find anything on the internet, really. So I came across this article that was taken from the log of a European expedition into the jungles of the Amazon. Okay, and it probably was from the turn of the century, late 1800s, early 1900s. So, in the log of this exploration, this expedition, the person entering the log at one point said that they came across, they're in the Amazon jungle, and they came upon a clearing, and in the distance was a sheer granite face cliff, sheer rock granite, right? And on the side of this wall, this sheer granite wall, vertical, I mean, we're talking vertically straight, right? 90 degrees straight up, right? You had birds that had made nests in the holes that were in the face of this sheer wall granite rock face. So the leader of the expedition just kind of made this off the cuff comment. Whoa, very, very cool for the birds that those holes are in that sheer granite face rock for the birds to build their nests. The indigenous person, the guide, told him, oh no, the birds made those holes. And the leader of the expedition, quite understandably, said, what? The birds made those holes? So the guy proceeded to tell him, okay, just watch the birds. Check it out. Just watch the birds. So he did. And he observed that some of the birds were traveling back and forth into the dense foliage of the Amazon jungle and returning with a brown reddish leaf in their beaks. And they would perch themselves on the side of this sheer vertical granite face cliff. And they would rub this plant, right, on the granite. And they would do this multiple times. Hey, you know how animals are. They do their thing. I mean, they just kept going back and forth, right? And eventually they would perch on the spot where they had been rubbing that reddish brown plant and would start to peck at it. And lo and behold, pieces of the sheer granite rock started to fall off and crumble.
Awesome.
Sheer granite. Okay, now, again, I'll have to find out where I came across that article, but here you have the possibility of a vegetable plant that if you were to crush it up and liquefy it somehow and apply it to a surface, it is capable of softening stone, rock, granite, okay? And as I said, this is entered in this obscure log of this expedition from the turn of the century, this observation that was made. Okay, so now, you talked about how, in addition to just have been forgotten by the Baduka, it's conceivable that they were told to not remember about how to use the spheres as a lunar calendar, a lunar predictor.
Right.
So what if this plant that these indigenous peoples of the Amazon rainforest knew about, hopefully, I hope it still exists today, but what if they had knowledge of this? And the reason why we don't know about it is I'm sorry, what'd you say?
Probably they know, because it is said that during the conquer, the tribes used to gather together, and they mentioned Costa Rica. I don't know if you remember. They mentioned, well, now we know that it's Costa Rica, but before it was the city or the place of the balls, of the spheres.
Yes. Oh, I got something for you in a minute. Hold up. Okay, so here we have the possibility that indigenous peoples knew that this particular plant would soften solid stone. And maybe we don't know that now because it was forgotten or it was told to be forgotten. Okay? But let's look at the possibilities of this, because again, this is entered in an actual log of an expedition into the Amazon at the turn of the centuries, right? Okay? So, and to me, it's amazing that people don't follow up on stuff like that. They say, oh, okay, oh, cool, all right, hey, right? All right. So, now, speaking of, back to the Baduka, Mariella, your friend who actually had physical contact with them, spoke with them, that is more valuable than any book, electronic article written by somebody from wherever, making assumptions. I mean, this person was in the village, spoke to them. Hey, that's the ultimate. First,
totally.
what is it? Close encounters of the third kind. I guess that'd be a first close encounters of the first kind. I mean, that's the source. That's right there. And the fact that you said that the Baduka intentionally withhold information, but yet your friend was given a little snippet that said, hey, these spheres were actually meant to predict lunar eclipses and to analyze lunar eclipses, right? And I gotta say, after our last episode, I got on the internet and I looked and looked. I found nowhere where it was at all mentioned that there was the slightest, remotest, theoretical, hypothetical connection of the spheres with a lunar eclipse or anything that specifically astronomical. And that's amazing. So, okay. Now, when I said that I had something for you, this is what I meant. So far, the spheres that have been discovered have laid within basically a 10-hectare area of Costa Rica. And 1 square kilometer is 100 hectares, okay? 1 square kilometer is 100 hectares. So you got this little bitty area of 10 hectares. Okay, now get this. So 10 hectares is 1/10 of a square kilometer. So if you visualize a square kilometer, wherever you live, that area where you live, and you visualize a 1 square kilometer area, this area where the spheres have been discovered and researched and looked at is only 1/10 of that square kilometer area. Okay? Now, let's look at the square area of Costa Rica is 51,100 square kilometers. So when we said that look at the fraction that a 10 hectares is 1/10 of a square kilometer, and Costa Rica's landmass covers 51,100 square kilometers. So the percentage of Costa Rica's land area that this little bitty part where these spheres have been found represents thousands of a percentage, I think. And then let's look at the whole world. What percentage of the total land mass of the earth does Costa Rica represent? And then you just go down from there. 10 hectares, 1/10 of a square kilometer. Does that not say that for some reason, somebody millennia ago picked that little bitty 10 hectare area, which now is contained within the area now known as Costa Rica, pick that to construct objects that are found nowhere else on the planet.
Right.
I mean, whoa, right?
Right. Well, you are the physics one, but I suppose that's probably because of the position of the country, the position of the land. So that brings me a reason or a positive point that the calendar, the eclipse calendar, is real or what's real. It's a real theory because I suppose that the spheres were made here in Costa Rica, especially in that part, not in the whole country, because they could predict something. And if if the Borucas told my friend Oscar that their great grandparents used to say that the spheres were made to predict spheres, I think that's true. I think that's true, but they don't know how to prove it. Science don't know how to prove it. Scientifics don't know how to prove it.
Okay, you know, I googled how would you predict a lunar
Hmm.
eclipse.
Uh-huh.
Seriously, you can find anything on the internet. You know, everybody who's been listening and viewing probably knows I tend to digress a little bit, but I just got to say this. There's an ancient library that existed in Africa in the
Uh-huh.
location of Timbuktu, okay, which I
Hmm.
think was located in the ancient kingdom of Mali or
Uh-huh.
Singhai, but it contained enormous amounts of knowledge.
Uh-huh.
And it was destroyed, right? You know, as humans do. Okay, Leroy, let's not pull out the soapbox, but it was destroyed. It was destroyed, right? And but the few fragments that have survived hint at unbelievable ancient knowledge that was written down on papyrus scrolls or clay tablets or what have
Hmm.
you. And
Hmm.
I gotta say, when I was growing up in Omaha, Nebraska, I remember hearing from the older people, oh, wow. You know, like, okay, let's say they were gonna go for a long trip. Somebody might say, whoa, you're going all the way to Timbuktu, huh? Right? Little references to ancient knowledge, Timbuktu. So I just wanted to say that in terms of how not only is ancient knowledge forgotten or told to be forgotten, but really, unfortunately, under some circumstances, it's actually purposely destroyed.
Right. Hmm.
And so,
Definitely.
you know what? But hey, get this, Mariella. What if somebody actually wrote down how the Baduka used, or whoever used the spheres to predict lunar eclipses, right?
Hmm.
And what if
Hmm.
they said, "Oh no, there's no way this indigenous peoples, you know, I'm talking European. What if they said,
Right.
"Oh no, there's no way this indigenous peoples are going to have the knowledge and technology using the earth
Uh-huh.
of being able to do what we can't do. So what do? Let's get rid of it. Let's destroy it." You know what? The Incas, I'm pretty sure it was the Incas or the Aztec. I'm not sure, but they had what's called codex, CODEC, codex.
Hmm.
And they wrote down serious information, astronomical, right? I mean, you had Chichen Itza
Uh-huh.
in you know, the Mayan culture, and these codex, they were astronomical knowledge. And when the
Right.
Europeans arrived, whether Spain, France, England, Belgium, Spain,
Hmm.
Portugal, whatever, right? When they arrived,
Hmm.
a lot of times these priceless documents weren't recognized for the treasures of human knowledge that they were, and they were
Hmm.
simply burned, right? They were looked
Hmm.
upon as either gibberish, native
Hmm.
gibberish,
Hmm.
or
Hmm.
if somebody within the group was actually intelligent enough to realize what this
Hmm.
could be, okay, let's burn it. And this included monks in the service of the church.
Hmm.
Remember, everybody, I said I don't
Right.
mind getting in trouble. Okay, so anyway, back back to ancient knowledge being lost. Okay, so
Right.
now, like I said, I looked up how would you predict. Oh, that brings me to something else. When you said how the Badukas used to gather and the knowledge would be communicated to the community
Mm-hmm.
by the elders.
Right.
And then they stopped doing that when
Mm-hmm.
modern technology came into the picture.
Mm-hmm.
That discouraged them, or they just stopped doing it. Did I get that correct?
Mm-hmm. Right. You're totally right. Right. Also, a problem is that they have lost their language also. And of course, well, even though they are self-governed, they, of course, they have schools in Spanish. So they have lost their language. I suppose there should be some books or written about this astrological knowledge, but probably they don't even know how to read them.
Wow, that and I mean it doesn't take long to forget stuff. I mean, um, it really doesn't. Unless it's written down, it really doesn't
Hmm.
take long for people to forget what things are. I mean,
Right.
you have cities and towns in the Near East and other parts of the world where you have mounds that are right
Hmm.
in the midst of these cities that
Hmm.
contain ancient artifacts, but people, it's as if it's just commonplace. I mean, I don't want to say they don't care, but I guess it's not of super relevance to their daily life. So
Hmm.
they say, oh yeah, that's a mound, and there might be something ancient under it, but other than that,
Hmm.
okay, whoop-de-doo. And you know what?
Right.
This brings me another story I'm going to repeat. And the only reason why I try not to repeat my stories for listeners and viewers alike, but if I think of one that might have relevance to what we're talking about, I'll dredge it up. So, okay, now Machu Picchu, the famous
Hmm.
archaeological site way
Hmm.
up in the altitudes of the Andes, right? I mean, just
Right.
seriously high altitude. Now, this is how it was discovered. An archaeologist, I think it was the 1930s. By the way,
Hmm.
that's about the same time frame as the Raiders of the Lost Ark movie, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, it must have been
Right.
real cool to have been an archaeologist, don't you think? Back at that time, I mean, there's so much undiscovered stuff,
Hmm.
right? But no, but we have our current day. You know what's so cool about our spheres? It's just as an
Uh-huh.
enigma. They're just as an enigma as they were
Totally.
1930s, back further. I mean, they are unsolved. We have a priceless
Uh-huh.
mystery right here. Okay,
Yes.
and nowhere else in
Totally.
the world.
Totally.
Totally, totally.
Totally.
Okay,
And the, and in since since my point of view, they were found as a mistake because the banana company was digging. They were digging and they found the spheres. So it was a mistake. They were trying to plant banana and they found the spheres. So, and it was in 1939, I guess. So for me, it was a mistake. They were found as a mistake.
and imagine this. Okay, you're a employee of the fruit company. You're on your bulldozer, right? And
Uh-huh.
you're just clearing away land, right? Cutting down trees as they do, right? Just
Uh-huh.
no
Uh-huh.
ecology, no ecological mindset whatsoever.
At
They're
all.
just
Uh-huh.
plowing down, yeah, just cutting down the trees, destroying the nature, and all of a sudden they come
Right.
upon this sphere, this
Hmm.
granite,
Right.
almost perfectly spherical sphere.
Hmm.
Now, on this show, we're going to have fun, okay? We're really going to have fun. So, we don't mean to offend anybody.
Right.
And if
Hmm.
we do, let us know. and I will personally
Yes.
apologize. But
Yes,
listeners and
please.
viewers alike, let it be known that, we're going to have fun. So I imagine this bulldoze driver sitting there, right, just mindlessly plowing through the field, right? And all of a sudden, he comes. I don't guess they had female bulldoze drivers back then, right? 1939. So he,
Uh-huh.
so he plows. Yeah, once again, we're not going to do the 130 thing, but it's cool. We're having fun. Okay, so he comes across this sphere, right, out of
All right.
stone, and I try to imagine what went through the mind of this bulldoze driver. I just would like to just imagine.
Well,
Okay,
well,
so
I would say that the ones who were digging found a beautiful rock, because we're not
yes,
thinking about science. We just well, they just found a rock, like when you walk through the beach, that you can find small rocks or shells that you don't know. If you don't know, you're gonna take them like, oh, it's so beautiful. What is it? And you won't have any idea.
okay,
So if you
cool.
don't
You know
know,
what?
you probably took the sphere with you.
I would hope so. I would hope that bulldoze
Right.
driver didn't say, "Oh, whoa, oh, okay, hey, I think I heard a myth that there's lost Indian gold in the middle of these spheres. Let's put a stick of dynamite in it
Of
and blow it
course.
to pieces
Of course.
and see if there's gold in there, right?" That's what I would hope so. What you
Of
said
course.
is beautiful. That it would be admired as
Mhm.
something that is very unique and is something to be treasured and protected. Yeah, that'd be very cool. Yes, I hope so.
Yes. Of course. And there are other myths. For example, as the Broncos were an organized group, and it's supposed that they gather in groups. I don't know, probably in families, and they form the spheres. They created the spheres using stone tools. And my question, where are those tools? Where are those stone tools?
So you're saying that they gathered as a community and with yet undiscovered tools or some method
No, the Brunkas
as a
created the tools.
oh, they created the tools to
I don't,
make the spheres.
right, right.
So you're saying that they didn't use materials that were already on hand, like rocks or something, like I don't know what else it could be. You're saying that
No,
they created specially designed tools that would allow them to manufacture the spheres.
right.
Now, these specially constructed tools, where did you hear about this?
I read it. I read it from the National Museum.
Wow. Now, did they say what these specially made tools look like, or what they
No,
look like? No?
no, they didn't say.
So
No,
just specially made tools to make the spheres.
right, right.
Okie
And
dokie. All
I
right.
was I was I was interested because they said that probably the families created the spheres, and also that the spheres were placed in front of some houses, probably
Mm-hmm.
the chief, in the house
Okay.
of the chief of the. hmm So
Okay.
it's interesting.
So yeah, yeah. I've read that too. That they were symbolic of the significance of
Hierarchy.
of an area or a particular
Hierarchy.
household.
Uh-huh.
But back to
Uh-huh.
what you said about the specially made tools. So in other words, as far as the museum knows, in your video with the chisel and the hammer, that could have been the specially made tools that were so they don't know, is what I'm saying. They call them specially
Yes,
specially
yes,
made
you don't know.
tools. Okay, all right, cool, very cool, very cool, very cool. All right. Oh, so on that note, back to your elf holes in the river of the two sisters with
Right.
the supernatural creature. What if that plant that possibly the indigenous peoples knew about to crush up and enable them to soften stone? What if that was applied to a surface and just kind of, made to make the shape you want? Okay, so this brought me back. I'm sure listeners and viewers have ascertained by now that I may tend to go off on a tangent here and there, right? But I find my way back, hopefully, and if I don't, please help me. Yo, Leroy, come back. Okay. All right. So, okay, back to Machu Picchu. All right. Now, the archaeologists who discovered Machu Picchu in, I think, the 1930s, this is how it happened. He's hanging out with a local farmer and happens to notice this really unique looking block, stone, in the farmer's yard. So again, off the cuff, he says to the farmer, oh, that's a cool looking rock, different looking rock. So the farmer proceeds to tell him, oh yeah, there's a whole bunch of them up the hill there. Yeah, just up the hill. We go up there every now and then, get some to use to make our houses and put in our vegetable bed and whatnot. So the archaeologist gets a guide to take him up the hill. And what does he wind up discovering? Machu Picchu. Word of mouth. Wasn't written down anywhere. In fact, I think the archaeologist was actually in the area looking for something else. Talk about discovering something else when you're looking for something else, right? Yeah, I think he was actually in the area checking out some other archaeological sites. So he winds up discovering one of the greatest archaeological discoveries ever, Machu Picchu. Machu Picchu, right? Total mystery.
It's a mistake, probably. Or a coincidence.
Yeah, totally. Serendipity to the extreme, right? and so get this. Now, this brings me back to my possible indigenous people's knowledge of a plant that could liquefy solid granite. If you look at the ruins of Machu Picchu, they're not like ancient Egypt, the Great Pyramid, where you have the blocks, right? Rectangular, square. These are shapes that are just, some of them have 8 sides to them, 5 sides, polygons to the extreme, right? Hexagons, octagonals. I mean, it's as if somebody said, oh, okay, yeah, I see that space right there has 9 sides. Okay, boom, right? It's like they knew that they could just fit. I mean, it's just unreal how, we talk about how long it could have taken a human being to theoretically, hypothetically, remotely chisel a sphere with what would be known to have been in use millennia ago. And as you so coolly demonstrated on the beach. Hey, Mariella, by the way, what was the name of that beach that you were on? What was the name of that beach?
Playa del Coco. Coco Beach.
Coco Beach. And that's north. That's right? Okay.
North.
Okay. Magnificent rocks. Seriously.
Right.
And just, you did that little light tap, so not to disturb nature, but anybody can see how you're dealing with a sheer, dense material. So
Right.
the spheres that are so smooth, anybody that's had the opportunity to actually feel one, you feel the
Mm-hmm.
texture. I mean, it's
Mm-hmm.
smooth. It's smooth. It
Mm-hmm.
is not rough. I mean, hope I don't get into trouble. It's about as smooth as a baby. It's about as smooth as a baby's butt. Right? It is smooth as a baby's butt. It is. It is so smooth. And Mariella, you mentioned that the modern efforts to make the spheres, which in my opinion aren't near as beautiful as the ancient artifacts, these modern replicants, they're made in halves. Is that correct? Is that what you said?
Right. Right. They make first one half and then the other half, and they place them together. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've seen some of them, and they're not particularly impressed. Maybe because I've seen the real thing, right? The real deal. So
Uh-huh.
I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed at all. I mean, not
Mm-hmm.
whatsoever. And
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so okay, again, so back to the pyramids. Okay, those are blocks or rectangles, but Machu Picchu, the
Mm-hmm.
walls, the houses, they not only contain
Uh-huh.
square and rectangular blocks, but they contain irregularly shaped blocks perfectly fit together. I mean, you cannot put a razor blade between them, as with the
Mm-hmm.
blocks in the Great Pyramid and other pyramids in Egypt. And
Mm-hmm.
while I'm on that, pyramids are found all over the world. Egypt,
Mm-hmm. Right.
they found some in China, buried underneath
Mm-hmm.
the. Anybody ever seen the movie Alien versus Predator? Alien versus Predator, where they find the pyramid in the Antarctica buried uh, deep below the Arctic cap or Antarctica? Yeah. So in China, they found pyramids buried in the ground, and they found pyramids in Europe. I think Bosnia. So
Mm-hmm.
pyramids are not uh, unique to a particular area. The design may be different. In Egypt, you have the smooth face, but you have the step pyramids in Central America, right? Chichen Itza
Right. Mm-hmm.
and the Aztec pyramids.
Mm-hmm.
But basically,
Mm-hmm.
same deal. You're talking a pyramid. I know I'm repetitious. I sound like a record that keeps playing, but only in Costa Rica are the spheres found. Okay, so
Right. Mm-hmm.
so uh, back to the ancient knowledge that is exemplified by Machu Picchu and the spheres. Um, I looked up how you would predict a lunar eclipse on the internet, and a lot of stuff came up, equations and I mean intense. But I found a little interesting little paragraph that said, if you keep track of where the moon crosses the elliptical plane. Now, the
Mm-hmm.
elliptical plane is the plane that all the planets in our solar system reside in, except for Pluto. Pluto is at a 70-degree angle orbit with the rest of
Uh-huh.
us. But everybody else, we're in the elliptical plane around the sun. So this little
Mm-hmm.
paragraph said that if you keep track of when the moon crosses the elliptical plane, which I'm just figuring means our horizon, okay? And if I'm wrong, okay, but I think so. So what that means is if you were to keep track of where the moon sets every night
Mm-hmm.
on your horizon, and
Mm-hmm.
then when you notice when that location is being close to when there's going to be a new moon, then there's the possibility that there'll be a solar eclipse. And on the same note, keeping track of when the moon sets below the horizon. Actually, you know what? There'd be two crossing points in the elliptical plane, up and down. So basically that would mean if you kept track of when the sun first appeared above the horizon and then went below the horizon, that would give you what they're called node points, N-O-D-E. So if you kept track of that, and there's plenty of evidence to say that one thing that ancient peoples definitely did was kept track of when the sun rose and set on the horizon. And they did the same thing with the moon. Hey, what else are you going to do, right? I mean, what are the two objects in your existence other than the earth that you can see on an everyday basis and on an every night basis? You notice, especially with the moon, that its position changes. Oh, hey, you can chisel on a rock. Okay, tonight the moon went ch-ch-ch-ch-ch. And then the next night the moon went ch-ch-ch-ch-ch, right? You can keep track. So it's something that can be done, or it can be verbally transmitted too. So again, this paragraph said that if you keep track of the locations on the horizon where the moon rises and sets, you could use that to predict when there's going to be a solar eclipse, which would be find the node, find the point on the horizon where the moon either came up or went down that's closest to a new moon, and that could possibly be a solar eclipse. And then using those same node points where the moon came up or went down on the horizon, you find out when is going to be the next closest full moon. And that gives you an idea of when there might be a lunar eclipse. So I'd like to play a video now, please, that will show you the connection between solar, lunar eclipses and what I'm talking about. Okay, please, let's play that video. Okay. Okay, notice how during a solar eclipse, the shadow kind of moved across the earth. And notice now during a lunar eclipse, how the shadow of the earth is moving across the moon. See that? Yeah, like that. So if you're on the moon, during a lunar eclipse, you see the shadow of the earth, going across. Oh, there's the creature from the Black Lagoon. So now everybody knows how I get my videos. I play them on my television, record them with my cell phone, right? Because, hey, there's a lot of restrictions with downloading YouTube videos and other internet videos, okay? So, but hey, I'm watching the video and happen to be recording it on my cell phone. So, okay, maybe the men in black will show up at my door and take me in, right? I don't know. Okay. So I want everybody to check out in the solar eclipse. Notice how the shadow of the moon moved across the earth. And you know, when there's like the great solar eclipse that was in the United States a few years ago, that was the most total solar eclipse observable in the northern hemisphere for years before and years to come. So people made special trips to get to the areas of the United States where they would have the most amount of time to view the solar eclipse. A lot of people got married during the solar eclipse. Here we go getting in trouble. I imagine a lot of people may have gotten their start during the solar eclipse, if you know what I mean, right? Right? Hey, awesome energy, good energy, right? Hey. So anyway, okay. So, and actually there's cruise ships that will, and airplane flights that will try to stay in the shadow of a solar eclipse to prolong that. So yeah, the shadow of the moon going across the earth during a solar eclipse, hey, if you can stay in it, you prolong the eclipse. And with the lunar eclipse, I guess if you were on the moon, you would actually see the shadow of the earth going across the moon. So back to the Baruka. Okay, again, they were able to, their ancestors were able to use the spheres to analyze lunar eclipses. So this is a treasure that has been lost in whatever fashion, and I look forward to see, Mariella. Again, I looked on the internet and I didn't see anything mentioned about a possible connection between the spheres and lunar eclipses. So what your friend was told, that is something that is not documented. He heard it word of mouth, which is priceless. So, oh wow, that's amazing. That's amazing.
Right.
Now,
sadly, it wasn't me. It wasn't me, the one who asked or who went to the Boruca. I wish I was there, but yes, it's amazing, and I think it should be true because they they told the stories like missing their elders. So they wish to keep them and to keep those stories still alive.
how ironic that modern technology with satellites and all that led to them not continuing to get together as a community and have the elders to communicate that ancient knowledge to them. Huh? Isn't that, that's really, that's not cool. That's so jacked up.
Right.
And can I ask you this, Mariella? Why do you think
Sure.
the advent of modern technology and satellites and all them that made them think that they no longer needed to honor the ancient traditions of listening to the elders and listening to the knowledge that they had and learning that knowledge so that they could perpetuate that knowledge to future generations?
Well, now I can tell as a teacher, as a mother, as an adult with experience, most of the times teenagers believe or young people believe that they know more than the elders and that they know everything.
Yeah. So whether you're in the United States or in the Baduka village, teenagers
Right.
will be teenagers, right? Unbelievable,
Totally.
right? And we all
Totally.
were there. We all were there. We were all knuckleheads that nobody could tell anything to. We knew what everything was. We knew everything we wanted to do, and we're so clueless, so clueless. So,
Right.
and all right, well, Okay, so we did another hour. You listeners. Oh, by the way, I want to say to the listeners with the time left. I made the remark about
Right?
we all have five senses and we use them in nature. Well, there's some of us who don't have the five senses, okay, and there's some of us who actually have a little bit more, right? Sixth sense and all. And it's all good, right? We all do the best we can to use what nature gave us. And that's what it's all about, appreciating what nature gave us and just rolling with it. And to you listeners, when I said about listening and not looking at the video, I just meant I don't want you to miss out on the videos, but I will do the best of my ability to describe to you listeners, what's going on, like the eclipse video that just played, where you had the animation and it shows how the solar eclipse happens and the lunar eclipse happens. So it's all good. I appreciate everybody listening and viewing and both. So
Yes.
we
And
got
please
four.
comment. You can comment or you
Yeah.
can ask questions to us also.
Oh, that's right. I think we
Hmm.
have the capability where you could type in. Okay, let's check that
Right.
out because that would go. Okay, okay. We got
Right.
4 minutes left to an hour. Mariella, please say whatever you
Hmm.
please. Well, in closing,
In closing, well, I can tell that Borucas is a great village. It's a great community that we should continue studying and learning about them, and of course investigating because we're not going to finish. And
I
every
have a
time
qu-
you find something new, you get amazed.
I have a question. When your friend was
Right?
told what he was told, did he use any kind of special method? Like, did he take them something like a gift or something?
He didn't tell me anything about it.
Okay, because this
No,
is
he
my
didn't tell
thought.
me. He didn't mention that.
Okay, okay. My original idea, I had said that when the time comes that we can actually form a group and take a trip to the Paducah village, I thought maybe we could take
Right.
some laptops, take some laptops. But
Right.
now that I know that technology made them stop doing what they were doing, maybe that's not the best idea, right? Maybe not.
Well, at least
No,
our
don't
cell
want to do
phones.
that. What's that? I'm sorry. What'd you
At
say,
least
Mariella?
let's take our cell phones. Our cell
Okay,
phones.
we can't go wrong with that, right?
Yes,
Oh,
I think so.
okay. So, wow. I wonder, we may have to send a letter of introduction to them at the appropriate time and tell them what we're coming for.
Mhm.
Tell them that we would be so interested in their unique knowledge of these and really impress upon them. I'm not sure, but they may not know that these spheres are found nowhere else. They probably do. They probably know. They probably been known for
Right.
thousands of
Yes, they
years.
know.
But they,
Yes.
but you know
Hmm.
what? You think the modern generation of the Baduka know that?
Hmm. Well, probably,
Okay.
probably, and I heard that they are eager to receive tourists. They really
Oh,
need
there we go.
incomes.
Well, all
Yes.
right. Well, there we go. Okay. Look out, Baduka, because here we come. All right. So we got 1 minute. We will close up second 1 hour episode. Right on. Excellent.
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Mariella.
Thank you, Leroy, and thank you everyone who's watching and listening to us.
And everybody, you're with us as we continue our adventure of exploration and discovery into the spheres, right? Every week you're with us. We're like one big group finding out what maybe nobody else has found out before. All right. Tune in next week. Same fat time, same fat channel.